All right, I'm back again. Now, we were talking about things about the videos that I made. Now, this was many years ago. I think I started making some videos. I started my page, I think it was back in 2012. I think it was 2012 that I started. It was January of 2012 that I started making these battlefield posts. And as you know, that was 720. I think it was 720p that I used. It was a camcorder. Now we're going to go over that little camcorder. Now I was a little embarrassed because the technology I have today, I have this Canon G30. It's just light years ahead. It's a semi-professional camera. We will go over that. I will show that. Now I want to show you the camera that I made all those videos that I made. I made about 100 videos on this camera over probably a 6 or maybe a 12 month, about a year time that I made these videos. All right, here it is. This is the camera that I made all those videos on. This is a JVC, okay, and this is the model, I think it's the GZ HM30BU. Now this was, when I bought this camera in 2013, okay, it was somewhat okay. It was a beginner's camera. It was good for a tripod. It was light, you know, it went everywhere I went. It stayed in my pocket, you know. I did have 2 batteries. This was the battery that came with the camera. It is a BNVG114U. And let me see what the rating was on this. It's kind of difficult to see, but this was the JVC battery pack that came with this camera. As you can see, it's tiny. It's not the big battery pack. It's the small, you know, probably gave you an hour, not even that probably. And then, you know, I was doing all these videos, and then I just decided that, you know, I just can't take this camera back and forth to, you know, the car to charge it. It had a car charger. I bought the car charger, so I'd be able to charge this tiny battery in my vehicle when I was making these videos. Now also, like I said, I purchased a larger battery for this unit. Okay, put the camcorder down. This is a JVC battery, which was expensive at the time. These were definitely not cheap batteries. This is the BNVG12IU, 7.6 volts, and this was the larger size. This, let me see if I could see what the number was on this. It was 2100 mAh. Okay, that's pretty good. I mean, that's sizable with the batteries that I use for this G30. Okay, and I think, let me see what this one was. This was smaller. This was 3.6, and this was the 1400 battery. So big difference. I mean, this is like, you know, you could see the difference in these 2 batteries, the size difference. I mean, it's clearly larger battery pack. So for demonstration, I'm just going to put this on the camera. Now, like I said, when I was using camcorders, I started off my first camcorder. We're going back into the 80s. I think I purchased a JVC. I always liked that name, JVC. But this was a Magnavox. I wish I could have this. I'll have to do a demonstration of this. I still have it. It was a Magnavox VHS recorder that you actually put on your shoulder, and then you would put the, you know, just like this, you would throw this through your hand, but you would have it on your shoulder. You know, if you saw the Goldbergs or anything like that, it was one of those types of VHS recorders. Now, it did a good job. I mean, it had voiceover. You can actually be filming in voiceover on it. It had some functions that were revolutionary for that time. It had an image stabilization, which was extremely rare for those cameras. It was a large box. This was a rare camera. They didn't make very many of them. And you would shake it, and the lens would jiggle back and forth in there. It was image stabilization at the time. Now, I used that. It was easy to use because you would take the cassette right out of it and then play it on your VHS player. There was really nothing else you could do with it except in camera. That was more, anything that you did was in camera. You know, the effects that you used, if there was effects. And then what was nice about, I liked that, it was in a briefcase. It was a large briefcase that it came in. And that Magnavox was wonderful because you would take it maybe to a hotel room. You would videotape with that unit, and then you can just take, you know, just hook it right up to the TV in the room, the hotel room, and you could use it as a DVD player. You just take your, you know, you would go to Blockbuster or somewhere else and rent a movie. or go to the front desk if they had movies, and just put it inside there, shut it, hit play, and then you had a functional VCR. It was a wonderful thing for its time. But like I was saying before, VHS, it was a tape, so it could be damaged, and the battery pack was very large. It was about this big, to be honest with you, and you had to keep that battery pack charged, and the accessories for that were extremely expensive. Now, there was a cold shoe on top of that for a light. That's pretty much it, man. It did have a microphone. It was a shotgun microphone that came out of that camcorder. Now, like I said, that was my introduction to camcorder use. And I did make one or two short little documentary films on that, and, just family gatherings and things like that. But that was retired many years ago. So I stayed out of the game for many years. Then, like we were talking about before, camcorders. This came into its own. Now, everybody uses their cell phone today for their cameras. They set them up on little tiny tripods. There's mounts that you can pull apart. You put your camera sideways in there. If you watch America's Funniest Home Videos, a lot of those are, your phone. It's not a professional setup. So I started this. This was my first camera. It's a 40x optical zoom. It's all right. I didn't really use the zoom. When you're doing a lot of these videos on tripod, you don't use the zoom. A lot of newscast broadcasts, you don't use the zoom. You just basically, you're not zooming in and out. It makes the footage look absolutely horrendous. Okay, so let's go over some functions of this camera. Now, we're talking back in the day. I mean, it's many years ago that this camera was made, but it did serve its purpose very well. Okay, if you open it up, the screen is extremely small for its time. I mean, I couldn't even look at this today, and that noise means that the lens cover. There's a lens. The lens cover, which was handy because it would let you know if the lens was covered. That was a nice feature. It would go beep, beep. And then, you could flick it around. And this is how I made my videos. I would put this on a tripod and turn this, towards me. Then I would turn it and I would walk in front of the camera, position my face or my body in this frame right here, and it came out okay. Now, this is a high-definition camera. It was good for its time. And it was great because that format, that's 720p. I think this is 720p. Don't quote me on that. I don't think it's 720i or anything like that. It was great because it uploaded to YouTube extremely fast. I mean, it was, because of its low format, it went right into YouTube. It was great to upload long videos because I do ramble about things. And it was great to load up that way. Now, this isn't a touchscreen at all. Now, if you touch the screen, nothing happens. Okay, the touchscreen I have on my Canon G30 is just phenomenal. It's unbelievable. You can just scroll right through things real fast in touchscreen. All the menu buttons are on the side of this camera here. Okay, you can hit your menu button, which is here, and you'll see the menu comes up. And let me see, a little finicky this one. There you go. So we go back to play. I would assume. It's a little funny. This one is a funny camcorder because, like I said, it was used for its time, but it only had a lifespan because it did have a problem with the camera. And I'll go over that in a minute. I'm just trying to get this menu up here. This is touchy. These buttons were very hard to push in and out, but once you learn these buttons, they were phenomenal. You could fly through the screen on this pretty damn fast. So, face reckoning is on. Okay, you have to hit the OK button. Everything was OK in this. You had to hit OK. Let me see. These menus are crazy. These menus were absolutely insane. All right, well, there's problems. I have to relearn this camera. I haven't used it, but I'm going to just hit the menu button and get out of that. Oh, I'm in the record. That's why. That's funny. I'm recording on my own camera. It said record. So this is how I learned this camera. I don't even know it was recording. But, it does have SD. It has your battery, which I'll show you. I don't want to... I'm just explaining the camera. I don't want to go over its functions or anything like that. I'm just going over what I know about the camera and what I used on it. It did have image stabilization. It had AI, intelligence, auto intelligence, which is AI. Now, this button broke on top. I must have dropped it or something, because if you hear that, if I shake it, it doesn't even work anymore. It would just jump from AI to manual focus. Now, that's a big problem. if it goes to manual while you're in front of the camera, it's going to get fuzzy, and then it's going to have to figure it out. That's why I didn't use this camera anymore. I stopped using it. Now it's starting to work if you hear it. See how it's just jumping back and forth. Now that's manual. You don't want it to stay in manual. And then this was the problem with this camera. Okay, let me see. I'm going to get it in AI, because what I'm going to do with this camera is I'm going to put it on the tripod. I'm going to get in front of it. Now, if you notice, I have really, my lighting is good here, and this camera is real good. So I didn't really even put this on the tripod and take a look at it recently. So what we'll do is we'll do some film footage of this camera to see the difference between this G30 and this little tiny, this JVC. I mean, now, a lot of these cameras there were different manufacturers. As we know, there was probably Panasonic, I think, but Sony made these also. Sony made these, and they were very consumer. This is a consumer camera. It didn't have the bells and whistles of the G30. Now, this G30, you can actually, if you had 3 of these or 4 of these, you can have a mini TV studio. They're so wonderful. Now, on my G30, it doesn't have the handle on top like the 25 and the 20 and the 25. I just used the MCC 2 on it with the auto controls. And there you go. That's all you need. You don't need the handle. The handle is only good for like picking it up, and you really don't need that handle on the camera. It's just an extra $300 you're spending. All right, so like I'm saying, I'm going over the camera. It does have very good color clarity in this little thing. Very surprising for the amount of millimeter this lens was. Let's see, it's 116 millimeter, which is it's small. We all know that. And it was, like I said, it was an optical zoom. It had a 40x, which came in handy if you were zooming into something. But, like I said, I very rarely use this. And it's Minolta lenses. It's not the Canon lenses you're seeing on me right now. This is the Canon lens. All right, and I wanted to mention this rocker switch. There's a rocker switch. Now it's a east to west switch, so you'd have to go towards away. It didn't have the north south switch like the Canon uses. Now, that was the big complaint about these cameras, these Canon cameras. Now, I don't want to get off the subject, but that G10 had the rocker switch back and forth, and it was just horrible. I mean, you got used to it. Don't get me wrong. I got used to the zoom rocker, but I wanted really the studio rocker where my hand, I would put it in the camera, and it would go, like I said, east to west. And it was basically pretty easy. I think I got so used to the east-west switch on this little camera that when I picked up this G30, I had to use the different fingers. I mean, you had to use this finger now. Not your index finger, but your middle finger. You had to use that to do north and south. So I got kind of used to it. I don't really use the zoom on my camera that much. I really didn't. I didn't use the zoom on this that much either. All right, now this has no internal memory. I do have a JVC camera. I'll do a video on that. I don't, I did 1 or 2 videos on that. It had internal memory. I didn't like it. It was just a very annoying camera. The color or something with the lens in it, I could never get that crisp image down like I could with this little tiny camera. And, here's no internal memory. Okay, it's a 1/4 inch, which was great because it's metal. It's not plastic. It's not going to, you're not going to strip these threads. And you open this up, okay, and here is your memory card in here, which was nice because it's only one memory card. You just take this and you just take it out of the camera and you can do whatever you want with it. You didn't have to do anything further with it. So this was, at the time, 16 was, that was the biggest card you probably could get at that time, and I got the biggest card. So you put it in, close the little door there, and it's SD-XC, which is good format, 10 or higher you have to use on this Canon because it is such high quality. Like I said, it was good. Here's the microphone. The microphone was in the front. Now, this microphone was pretty damn good. I mean, except for the problem with this microphone was there's no external port for a microphone, so you couldn't have a microphone to make this better. You had to accept the microphone. Now, the problem I was having was, if you notice some of my videos, that wind rocketed through this. And when that wind went across this, even with that, there's a wind cut on this. Even with the wind cut, it sounded like crap. The audio on this sounded like crap, but the video was pretty good. If I can go to 1 to 10 on the scale on this, it was probably around a 7. It wasn't great and it wasn't bad either. It was pretty good, the quality. And then you have your DC port. This was where you had to charge. You charged the battery on this camera. You didn't take the battery off and put it into a charger like you do the G30. But you can plug in the G30 and charge the battery through the camera, and you can leave the camera on the power cord, so you don't have to use a battery at all with my camera. And I'm sure you could have done that with this also, but I never did that. I just always plugged in the car charger and recharged these 2 batteries that I had with it. And I needed 2 battery packs because, I was out for the day, made 3 or 4 videos in one day. I was close to different landmarks, and I would go from one landmark to another, and by that time you're out of power, and you're out of luck, because you could be on a scene, you got good lighting and everything else, and you didn't have the power to keep going, keep filming. So I just wanted to go over. I'm kind of embarrassed because I could put this and almost enclose it in both hands, where my G30 is like this big. It's huge. I mean, it's thick too. It's like this thick. It's a professional camera, which we will do a film on my G30 on this, but not today. I'll do that in another video. But I just wanted to go over this little tiny camera that I used to make all those videos you saw in the Battle of Brandywine. Now, a lot of people that upgrade to cameras will do a video or review on their new camera, and they're always talking about their smaller camera. I have never heard, in videos that I watch, I have never heard somebody speak bad about the camera that they use. They might have said, it's not as good as this, but they're not like throwing it. They're not throwing it away. They always say, this thing was a little tank. It was with me the whole time. It was my best friend. I used it for everything. And it's true. I really have admiration for this tiny little camera, because this little camera here, really, it did its job. It did its job. It was wonderful for the time. It was, it did very well. And, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to put this on the tripod, and I'm going to sit where I am now, and then, I'm going to bring my G30. I won't talk about my G30. I'm just going to leave my G30 here so you can look at it, and I'm going to be filming it with this little tiny camera, and we'll see a big difference. So let's get to that right now. Alright guys, I tried to upload that little JVC and it didn't even record. I knew it was broken in some way or another. Like I said, I took the card out and there was nothing on the card. It was zilch. So something's going on with that little camera. I don't know. Like I said, I might have dropped it. But if you do go to my Battle of Brandywine videos, you can see the quality of that little camera compared to this camera here. So listen, I really appreciate that. And if you got an old camera, keep it, because it's a piece of nostalgia that you're always going to have. Take it easy, guys.